Subscribe.
What if there was
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. It is 4:29 p.m. here on the East Coast. And it is 82 degrees out right now, y'all. 82 degrees. Beautiful weather. Nice little warm, a little humid out. Pretty humid. But other than that, weather is awesome outside. We have breaking news coming in from Russia and Ukraine war. We have probably one of the biggest, massive, most outrageous strikes. Excuse me. From Ukraine on Russia that I've probably seen in the whole war, or probably in the whole war put together. Massive strikes is ongoing right now as we speak. And excuse me. And we also have where St. Petersburg in Russia is in flames. And then we also have confirmed hits in Kuwait on infrastructure and on military assets. So you don't want to miss today's show, y'all. Today is probably going to go for a little bit, probably about maybe 40, maybe a little bit longer. Not for sure. We'll have to see how long it's going to take us to get through all the news today. But other than that, let's get to what we got going on right now, and we will be bringing that up on the picture momentarily.
Subscribe and support us on Patreon, link in the description below. Today we have breaking news coming out of Eastern Europe and the Middle East, but most importantly from St. Petersburg, as a major and overwhelming Ukrainian drone attack has caused irreparable damage to a Russian oil storage facility at the entrance of the port of St. Petersburg, and the Ukrainian drone has also landed a deadly hit to the Russian Staroguchi-class corvette, the Boyki, and the Kronstadt Naval Yard, the largest and most prominent naval yard of the Russian Federation for their Baltic fleet. We have also been able to hear additional information of an explosion at the Tula arms factory over the course of the day, while the Russian Federation appears to be living in complete delirium and denial, stating that they will be able to take Kyiv by the latter end of 2026 or sometime in 2027, although at this moment the front line has hardly shifted over the past 3 years, and if any, it has started to favor the Ukrainians. We have also seen the Ukrainian armed forces have conducted a significant attack on the supply hub of Melitopol, and Ukrainian forces have continued to defend against incoming Russian drone and missile attacks around major cities such as Kharkiv over the past hours. We've also gotten major news out of the Middle East as well, as we're now seeing that yesterday's or last night's Iranian drone and missile attack has actually ended up causing significant casualties within the Kingdom of Kuwait, as a missile rained down onto the Kuwaiti International Airport, killing 1 and wounding 63. And we've also heard that the Kuwaitis are now expelling Iranian diplomats as a result of this major calamity that's now unfolded at the airport. We've also seen that the Islamic Republic of Iran is stating that they are going to be working on a bomb, and according to the IAEA, the likelihood of the production of that bomb has significantly increased. Israel is giving evacuation orders for further Lebanese cities, while Netanyahu pledges that Iran is playing with fire, and militarily, the Strait of Hormuz could be reopened if enough effort was put into it. We've also seen that at the same time, the President of the United States is now stating that things are going incredibly well, and now he wants to meet Mujtaba Khamenei and the entire Iranian government and become great friends with them. We've also seen that airstrikes apparently have been conducted on Qashem Island within the last 6 hours, and it appears that at the moment, these are continuations of defensive strikes by U.S. armed forces. We've also been able to hear from the Secretary of State that the U.S. is now possibly protecting ships transiting through the Strait of Hormuz, which we'll be looking at live on air. But with that, we are going to be making sure to get through all of this news, starting with our largest stories first, and then moving our way on down into the smaller stories throughout the video. And moving us on into our largest story of this moment, we are going to St. Petersburg, as St. Petersburg has come under a prolific drone attack over the past few hours, and the damage is unbelievable for the larger part. Ukrainian drone forces have conducted large attacks against the Russian Federation in the past hours, but the most important one that we've seen so far came from the city of St. Petersburg. St. Petersburg is the second largest city in populous figures, home to about 3.5 million Russians, and not only that, is strategically considered about as important as the city of Moscow, which is considered the most strategically viable and important city throughout the entirety of the Russian Federation. At the moment, we understand the Ukrainian drones were able to make it into the air defense perimeter and started to rapidly reach into areas of the city that once were largely unreachable. We were able to see video here of some of these incoming drone attacks from a citizen filming from a high-rise as the drones were making it to their targets throughout the entirety of the Narva Bay.
Здесь летал около домов.
Это когда в плазу, где-то возле плазы был?
We see the drones here, several of them, and an intermittent amount of air defense fire in the distance. We hear the air defense fire now picking up as the drones are making it closer and closer to the inner bay and their targets. And we can see one of them making impact there, right on an oil storage facility, as the next drone continues to fly past the prior hits on the oil storage facility and even deeper into the city, looking for further targets to strike. Car alarms are now going off as the drone appears to be flying deeper into the city, or in fact even turning around for another go. And it actually appears that the drone's turning around to go for another go at possibly the oil facility. We also were able to see the Russian air defense in its finest form, and we were able to see Russia's finest at work here in this clip. The other POV that y'all didn't see in the last clip of the drones actually flying in was what in the world the air defense fire was, which is one guy with an AK and apparently another support gunner that gives him ammo or something. I'm not really sure, but he wasn't really doing anything through the clip. We see the drone continuing to fly over the city. There it is right there. Air defense is seemingly ineffective at the moment. Generally assumed that it would be, with a rifle of that type with absolutely no optics on it, shooting at a range of about 300 yards at a moving target that's moving about 80 miles an hour. We could generally expect that they're not going to be hitting anything. So, it appears that that was definitely the case, much to Russia's detriment for that matter. Not only that, not only were we able to see that this oil depot was hit, which we will be showing y'all here in full form, at least the very beginning, the magnum opus of the strike on the oil facility, which is this explosion here.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I don't know if you've heard, but Mint's premium wireless is $15 a month. But I'd like to offer one other perk. We have no stores. That means no small talk. Crazy weather we're having. No, it's not. It's just weather. Did you watch the big game? I haven't watched anything in 7 years because I have 4 children. Just sign up online at mintmobile.com. It is an introvert's dream.
EVE Online is a vast universe, alive with the unrelenting activity and combined history of its players. Pursuing lives of adventure, warfare, and prosperity, they share this existence in the biggest single shard, free-to-play MMO of all time. Set 21,000 years in the future, EVE takes place in a distant cluster of over 7,000 star systems known as New Eden. It is a rich and diverse universe featuring densely populated havens of relative safety governed by 4 great empires. Hostile systems where player alliances make the rules. Even regions of anomalous and unexplored space that hold their own secrets. You play as a Capsuleer, a revered breed of highly trained pilot, having achieved immortality through the use of cloning technology. You navigate the universe encased in an armored capsule deep within your ship, where you have complete neural control and function as one. There are hundreds of ships to fly in EVE. Everything from small, nimble craft and versatile mid-range vessels to formidable warships and colossal freighters. Each has advantages and suited roles, but all are completely customizable as you decide how to equip and arm them. What you do in New Eden is entirely up to you. EVE's immense sandbox gives you the opportunity to choose between multiple professions and activities. The key to this unique customization of your playstyle is skill training. This is a passive process, and it continues whether you are in or out of game. As a new player, you can focus on one specific area in order to quickly reach the same level of specialization as a veteran. So be adventurous and explore new avenues of development for your character, as you can always change role and reinvent yourself if desired. If you want to fight, combat in EVE can involve solo missions against non-player adversaries, or small group skirmishes, while for some, it can even be the thrill of fleeting up with thousands of fellow pilots and battling over disputed territory. If you want to explore, then the discovery of uncharted space and ancient regions that promise riches, danger, and adventure await you. You can also engage in the business of prosperity, be it industry, mining, or even interstellar piracy. The beauty of life in New Eden is that all of these activities, and many more, can be done alone or with others. A unique in-game market, unprecedented in scale and degree of player control, is the beating heart of New Eden. Players are responsible for the manufacture of almost everything you can buy or sell. The gathering and refinement of resources, the building of ships, equipment, and even some space stations. EVE's players are core to how the universe is filled and how the economy thrives. Players in EVE can band together to form corporations where they can enrich their experience, learn new elements of gameplay, and share their wealth and goals. When these player-run corporations grow to become larger entities, they can merge with other corps to form alliances. Powerful alliances regularly compete for control and influence over large areas of space, waging wars and engaging in record-breaking battles. Even taking down well-defended, sprawling, player-built space stations. In the spirit of exploration and mystery, new content and experiences are constantly introduced into the universe, with over a decade of free expansions leading to continual development and evolution of gameplay. While every action and decision has consequences for the universe and its hundreds of thousands of players, the game remains very much about your unique adventure and story. A story that will forever be woven into the fabric of EVE.
Not only did this occur within St. Petersburg in just the past few hours, but something even more damaging occurred to the Russian Federation, at least in direct strategic capacity, just a little bit farther outside of the area of the Narva Bay, and somewhere out here near this little island, Kotlin Island. Kotlin Island is a very important one for the Russian Federation, as the historic and ancient naval wharf of Kronstadt is based on Kotlin Island, and more importantly, a large amount of the dry docks and facilities that the Russian Federation can use to refit vessels, repair them, or even build ones from scratch, at least in theory, although it hasn't been done in decades, do exist here in this clip naval yard, and are vitally important to the operations of the Russian Baltic Sea Fleet, which is considered to be one of the larger and more well-equipped navies within the western area of the Russian Federation. It's really second only to the Arctic Fleet, which is or the Northern Fleet, which is based out of Murmansk and Arkhangelsk to the north, at least in terms of firepower and capabilities, according to the Russians, that is. It appears that we've seen that a Sterkuchi-class corvette, this one right here, has actually been targeted and possibly destroyed while in dry dock today And the Ukrainians have provided footage of the incident from their drone showing the attack and the impact on the Corvette the Boyki. I'm not kidding, by the way. Many of y'all will know the infamous story of the Russian Corvette, the Stoiki, which was down in Bandar Abbas near to the beginning of the war with Iran. And now we understand that the sister ship, the Boyki, has also been targeted in Kronstadt as well. We have news that the Ukrainians are currently working on finding and destroying the Doiki as well, but they haven't been able to find that one. But here's the clip showing the Kronstadt getting hit in port and damaged irreparably from what we can tell. This appears to be the dry dock within this area of the port right about here. It is a fairly long dry dock. It appears to have a sister dry dock next to it, and then further on up the way, there's a dry dock that is at an angle looking into the area of the Kronstadt Wharf. If we look right here, we can actually see this dry dock somewhere about here. It might be this one, or it might be this one. We're not particularly sure, but we have narrowed down the area of the attack to this little portion of the naval yard. But here's the clip showing the drone coming in right on top of the Boyki. We can see that the superstructure near to the bridge lines up exactly with that of the Staraguchi class corvettes. And we can see the direct hit causing a humongous fire onto the facility. And then we can also show the Ukrainians giving a general summary of all the clips that they're going to be showing. But for our purposes, we're just going to be showing the Staraguchi class corvette getting hit inside of Kronstadt. We can see the Ukrainians here showing some display footage, showing y'all what the Boyki looks like normally, and now we can see them Boyki doinking on the Boyki. This explosion here. We see the large fire now breaking out across the naval yard as another Ukrainian drone comes in to hit the Boyki a second time, and we can already see that a major fire has broken out on the superstructure of the ship, and now we can see the Ukrainians showing the attacks on the oil depot. But we'll be showing all that here in the rest of our news, as we're now going to be hopping right back out of Kronstadt and the major hit that they landed on the Boyki, and we're now going to be moving back towards the port of St. Petersburg, as there was a lot more footage to show from this attack. We were able to see that the fire has continued to rage on satellite footage and satellite photography, largely covering the entirety of St. Petersburg Bay within the area because of the prolific size and nature of the fire. We also got a large amount of clips showing the lack of Russian air defenses within the area and the drones attacking the oil depot from a myriad of different angles. Here we can see another one of these brave Russian air defense gunners with just an AK attempting to shoot down a drone at 500 yards moving at 100 miles an hour. I think he missed. Moving us on out of that clip, we also got another one showing us the drones also hitting the oil depot from another angle. Here's this clip. There's the drone and the impact. And now you can see the explosion. Moving us on out of that clip, we also got another one showing the drones coming in during the raid over the city. Here's a clip of that. And we also have one more clip also showing the drones flying into the city. This one actually is filmed from a very posh area of St. Petersburg. There goes the drone.
Охуеть! Охуеть, сука, блядь! Сука, даже в багаж нормально не сходить. Просто дроны нахуй над головой, блядь. Охуеть.
And then we can see the fire that was caused after the fact. And the explosion as well.
Ух, ебать!
Now we can see some of the different angles that we weren't able to show in other clips.
Будто бы тепленький.
Да, теплый такой, теплый жар ощутился.
До сюда дошло.
Now we hear the air defense fire picking up as you see another drone coming in. And we can now hear that drone making its final dive into the facility.
друзья, посмотрите, что у нас
From
происходит.
this angle, we can see the smoke and fires over the apartment buildings that's happening at the oil terminal.
Я с балкона своего дома смотрю на это. Вот что у нас происходит. На самом деле взрывается, у нас трясутся окна. Вот, мы с сыном спрятались за правило 2 стен. Вот я просто сейчас вышла посмотреть, потому что пришла новость, что у нас порт горит. Вот у нас там порт.
And we see this lady's apparently explaining to a family member what's going on as she's filming. We see them continuing to show the toxic thick smoke billowing on over the city. We also see another hit on the depot, actually 2 of them simultaneously, and a third one. In general, the damage and attack at the St. Petersburg port facility and the Kronstadt Naval Yard have proven to be an unbelievable embarrassment for the Russian Federation and also their air defense forces. Over the entirety of all the clips that we've watched and we've been able to analyze as well off air, it appears that the Russian Federation does not have any active air defenses larger than a small arms, such as an AK-74 or possibly a PKP Pechnik, within the entirety of southern St. Petersburg and the Kronstadt Naval Yard. This is showing that Russia's air defenses are stretched to the absolute limit in most parts of the country, even in the second most important city in the Russian Federation, St. Petersburg, while Moscow has had what is veritably an air defense fortress built around it. Other cities like St. Petersburg are dealing with quite literally nothing in terms of defense. The Boyki, which is a Staraguchi-class corvette and one of the more modern vessels of the Russian Navy, has most likely been knocked out of action for good, depending on how large the fire has blazed, and also due to the fact that the Russians do not have the money, generally, to be able to refit these vessels and press them back into any sort of active service. So for this reason, we're going to be assuming that the Boyki from here is most likely going to be written off as a loss until the war ends and some money can be given to try and repair the vessel. That's if the Russian government even survives to find the money to be able to repair the ship. We've also been able to see that the oil depot attack in St. Petersburg is quite a significant one. We understand that the oil depot is around this area right here, and it is a small oil loading port for the Russian Federation, not as big as Ust-Luga or Primorsk by any measure, but it still is one to speak of. The attack will most likely be knocking out operations at this port for some time, and depending on if there were any of the pumping facilities that were hit as well at this facility, we might also be getting the expectation that operations might have been completely knocked out for several days or weeks until they can restore some minimal operational capacity in the St. Petersburg oil loading port. Moving us on out of St. Petersburg, another interesting explosion also happened at the Tula Arms Factory.
I got one challenge for you. Try WhisperFlow once. One time. And I promise you'll understand why I haven't typed a full sentence in 6 months. Next time you open ChatGPT, don't type your prompt. Just talk it out. And I mean through WhisperFlow, not ChatGPT's built-in voice.
We don't really know why this one happened. It doesn't appear to have been a Ukrainian drone attack. But there is an ongoing explosion and fire. It appears to be some sort of propellant that's on fire inside the building. And we also got another clip as well, showing the large blazing inferno. Sounds like popcorn.
Нихуя! Если там склад пиротехники, это пизда.
We can also see by the white smoke of the fire that it is clearly a propellant fire, showing that some form of gunpowder or propellant for munitions is on fire in the facility. And this last clip here also shows it from another angle. Moving us on out of that clip, we've also been able to hear that in the midst of all these attacks that have been conducted against the Russian Federation directly over the course of the day and the other calamities that have occurred in Tula, the Russians are putting out some hypothetical scenarios currently at the International Economic Forum. And they are stating that in 2036, by a good script, there is a clear image of victory in the ideological war based on forecasting and design. Annexation of Kyiv, Odessa, and Kharkov, or Kharkiv as it's now called, is apparently something that would be expected by 2036. That's only 10 years from now. The collapse of the European Union, the crisis of American centrism, the creation of a fully controlled buffer state on the territory of Ukraine, or the annexation of Ukraine to Russia, or the creation of a new East Slavic state. By 2050, they believe that leadership in ensuring global security and justice, complete multipolarity, strengthening of Russia's subjectivity, and a formation of our own macro region in Eurasia. I don't think they're getting the memo that they're already kind of losing that to the Chinese. Trinity of the Russian people, and the death of imperialist plans of Western countries. In the bad scenarios, however, they believe that there's going to be a defeat in the Northeastern Front. In a confrontation with the West, Ukraine will get into NATO, there will be a sharp increase in the threat to state security and territorial integrity, the tendency towards the complete loss of all post-Soviet states, their wait-and-see observer position on Russia, the emergence of new conflicts in South Ossetia and Transnistria, which are illegally, not officially recognized territories that the Russians have attempted to annex or control, and the preservation of regional sovereignty, a truncated form. And by 2050, they believe that there will be a colonization of Russia and a myriad of other things. I'd have to say the Russians need to start reading this bad script instead of the good one, because I think the bad script is the one that's largely in their future at this point. It doesn't really look like they're doing all that well in the war. I wouldn't expect them to be annexing Kyiv, Kharkiv, or Odessa anytime soon, considering that they've been trying to do that now for about 4 years straight, and they're no closer to it now than they were in the first opening days of the war. We've also been able to see, additionally, that there has been a significant strike in Melitopol, we believe on some sort of a logistics facility. The smoke was billowing over the city after the fire had been conducted by a Ukrainian drone strike. We're still trying to analyze the fallout of this attack in Melitopol. Additionally, we've also heard that air defenses were active over Kharkiv today and did shoot down a Shahed drone, which can be seen on film right here in the puff of smoke from the air defense interceptor hitting the drone and destroying it. And in the midst of Russia's cheery forecasts of what the future may look like, we did also get to hear today that a statement was made by none other than Rutte, who is the Secretary General of NATO, who stated that Ukraine is now so successful that Putin is only able to organize the 9th of May parade with an official presidential decree by Zelensky. Now it's probably going to come back to keep haunting Putin for the rest of his days, the move that Zelensky pulled right before the Victory Day parade on May 9th in Moscow. But moving us on out of the entirety of the Eastern European news and the situation in Ukraine, we have been able to hear of a developing and unfortunate situation that has occurred within the Middle East, as it does appear that according to information out of the Kuwait International Airport, significant damage and casualties have been reported from last night's Iranian attack, and is also giving us indication that there were direct impacts inside of Kuwait, much like we were reporting last night, which was completely refuted by CENTCOM. According to the information we have today, one person was killed and dozens were injured in an Iranian drone attack in Kuwait. The Kuwaiti International Airport earlier this morning took a direct hit, and significant damage was caused to Terminal 1 of the building. Iran launched 13 missiles and 17 drones at Kuwait last night, and from what we can tell, this missile certainly was not intercepted. We were able to see that CENTCOM reports over the course of last night were making it somewhat clear, at least according to their statements, that all missiles had been shot down by U.S. air defenses, and there was absolutely no harm whatsoever, and the attack absolutely failed. Did not cause damage anywhere. This is largely what the CENTCOM claim was. We're now seeing that it clearly did cause damage, as we're now also hearing that one person died and 63 were injured in this attack on the Kuwait International Airport's Terminal 1.
هذا الحريق هذه مسيرة طاحت هني فوق أمل الكويت هذه.
You, just you, building your app on Base 44. Describe it. And it's real. One thought leads to more thoughts. Layer by layer, taking shape. When you need your tools, bring them in. They just click. Okay, kick it up a notch. Create something smarter, something powerful. Style counts, so give it your touch. Big or small.
A very unfortunate scene, to say the least, and once again showing that the Iranians are continuing to cause acts of terror throughout the region, and also the death of innocents due to their aggressive actions. Kuwait has already declared several Iranian diplomats persona non grata and are expelling them from the country over the ongoing aggressions against the Kingdom of Kuwait, and it is quite obvious and clear at this point that the Iranians are not just attacking U.S. forces like they were claiming, they're also attacking innocent civilians and infrastructure that is considered civilian use, therefore not a target in an act of war. We also understand that the Iranians are continuing to claim, at least according to the Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi, that our armed forces are conducting self-defense strikes on sites the U.S. is permitted to use to attack civilian shipping and violate the ceasefire. Any hostile act will be met with an immediate, decisive response. What sanctions and war fail to achieve won't be won with more war. In the meanwhile, we also heard that Netanyahu did claim that the strait is openable militarily, and that was largely just his statement as a standalone fact, I suppose, and he also stated that the Iranians are playing with fire. Outside of the statements by the Israelis, we've also seen that the Iranian government has apparently started to work on a nuclear bomb at an even faster rate, even in the moment right now. And according to the International Agency, or the International Atomic Energy Agency, they've stated that the likelihood of Iran developing a nuclear bomb has increased significantly. We've also heard of jet activity over Tehran during these moments in time, most likely the Iranian Air Force conducting some form of air cover for the city, although that would largely be ineffective with the antiquated form of aircraft that they have. And we've also heard further developments from the areas of Israel that Israel is continuing to declare evacuation orders in some areas of Lebanon, including Jabal, Homan, al-Faqqa, and also Arki in Lebanon. From what we understand, the military says Hezbollah violated the ceasefire by striking the Israeli home front and is now it will now act forcefully in those areas. Civilians are told to move at least 1,000 meters to open ground. So it does appear that the Israelis are preparing for even further strikes in Lebanon as we speak. Meanwhile, airstrikes were heard of in Qashem Island 7 hours ago, most likely by the United States of America, although we haven't been able to confirm that yet. And in the meantime, the President of the United States now wants to meet the Iranians, as the President has confirmed that he told Netanyahu that he was crazy, but says the two work so well together as wartime President and wartime Prime Minister. The President also then went on to say that the Iran situation is rapidly evolving and claimed Tehran has agreed it will not obtain a nuclear weapon, although the IAEA is saying that they're working on one even faster now, and said the blockade on Iran could be lifted by Labor Day, and that he'll probably meet Iran's Ayatollah at some point. He then went on to elaborate that he would love to meet the new Ayatollah Mujtaba, and in fact, he's probably a great guy, a nice guy. We've also been able to hear that according to the U.S. Secretary of State, they have also stated that U.S. forces are now protecting commercial shipping in the Strait of Hormuz. We're not entirely sure if that's true or not, and if we go to marine traffic here really quickly, we can see that there is a small amount of cargo ships that appear to be passing through the area, including a sailing vessel, which we're not entirely sure what that's about, but we can see that there is generally not a lot of ships passing through. If anything, they look to be affiliated with Iran, and as a matter of fact, turns out that some of these are going to the destination that is not real. So, as a matter of fact, every single one of these ships that we're checking right now in real time on this video appear to be spoofed. We have this one going to a destination that clearly is not real. We also have this vessel here, which does appear to be an actual authentic vessel. Then we have this one, which is a fake vessel that's being spoofed. We have this one, which is also a fake vessel being spoofed. Don't really know about this one for sure. That one's most likely authentic. And then we also have this one as well, which appears to actually be a legitimate vessel. So there is quite literally no passages going on through the strait, even at this moment right now as we're talking, which leads me to doubt that the U.S. is conducting escorts and the situation is all fine and dandy, because it doesn't really look fine and dandy at the moment. But it does appear that that is the situation of which we are dealing with right now, in the midst of the Iranian attack that just killed 1 Kuwaiti and wounded 63 more at an international airport. But with that is all of the breaking news that we have for the day. I have to thank each and every single one of y'all so much once again for watching. It's always an honor and a pleasure to be able to cover this news for each and every single one of y'all, and I hope that y'all have enjoyed it greatly. If y'all have, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and support us on Patreon, link in the description below. And of course, we thank you all once again for just spending your time here and greatly enjoying our news coverage here on The Enforcer Show.
So y'all, that's wait a second. Okay, that's all we have for you right now. So we're going to see what happens with this Iran situation. So not for sure how it's going to go down, not for sure how it's going to play out, but we're going to see. But that's all the breaking news that we have for y'all this evening. We'll be back here later on tonight at 10:30.